Hey everyone, welcome to 3D Cartoon Review. Today we journey into Seoul LAND2, the Unrivaled Tang Sect, episode 125. At the end of the previous episode, the battlefield hung on the edge of catastrophe. The instant Huo Yuhao's body started to change, an eerie, otherworldly mutation rippling through his meridians, Diep Tich Thuy and everyone nearby were stunned into silence. It was as if the air itself grew heavy. Even the mountain peaks trembled under a pressure that had no name yet, felt unmistakably ancient. And then the truth revealed itself. Tian, the emperor beast of the soul beast world, had borrowed Huo Yuhao's form. In that borrowed body, he traded razor-edged words with the woman who had been pressing the assault. A duel of tongues became a duel of destinies. A heartbeat later, words were useless. Two Rank-99 Ultimate Douluo unleashed power that made the sky peel open like paper. With only a few clashes, the air tore into visible seams, and the mountain's spine groaned. The world shuddered around them. A black dragon head flared to life behind Huo Yuhao, and the temperature dropped into a dreadful, smothering cold as dragon fire coiled, then roared. In response, Diep Tich Thuy's seventh ring burst forth. Her figure became a streak of scarlet and fused into the colossal blood-crimson demon armor looming at her back. Metal screamed, the ground cracked, stone turned to powder. For a breath, both extremes met, annihilating black dragon flame against that blood-red fortress of will. Then the earth exploded. Shock waves flattened the mountain crown. Scree avalanched like a gray waterfall. In the middle of ruin, Diep Tich Thuy screamed not in pain, but in a fury edged with disbelief. "Divine beast, Tian, so it's you." The name struck like thunder. She understood at once. Her enemy wasn't Huo Yuhao at all, but the king of soul beasts himself. Why would Tian be here protecting Star Luo's interests and shielding this human boy? Came the disdainful answer, the words flowing through Huo Yuhao's lips, yet infused with Tian's chill authority. "Yes, it is I. Others you can cut down at your whim, but those who are mine you will not touch." Diep Tich Thuy's laugh was short and sharp. "You're formidable, I grant you that. But you are not truly here. If you hold this state too long, the boy you possess will shatter beneath you." It was a surgeon's diagnosis delivered in the middle of a storm. Tian's reply was equally curt. "Have you forgotten what I can bring down into this world? Even my true self may descend." As he spoke, Huo Yuhao's fingers moved. A thread of ink-dark light connected his fingertips, then ripped the sky. A rent in space peeled open, and from the crevasse, a shadow stepped out, humanoid yet suffused with draconic terror. The instant that aura arrived, the dragon head behind Yuhao solidified. Black dragon flames surged in potency and slammed into Diep Tich Thuy. She reeled backward, armor shrieking, of breaking potted, of breaking flame. She wasn't reckless. She knew what she was facing and what she wasn't willing to wager. In a flash, Diep Tich Thuy became a lance of red light and streaked for the Death God Tower. At her command, that baleful edifice lit up from within. Countless resentful wails rose like a choir of ghosts, and the tower fired a beam, the light of resentment, straight into the chasing dragonfire. The collision birthed a blast that erased the last dignity of the mountain peak, leveling it into a brutal plain of smoking stone. The Death God Tower did not linger. It leapt skyward, turned into a comet of red, and arrowed back toward the Sun-Moon Empire. Withdrawal executed without a heartbeat wasted. In the distance, the Sun-Moon Empire's soul engineer formations detonated in staged self-destruction, covering their retreat in bursts of fire and smoke. Above the ruined summit, a golden signal rose from Star Luo's main forces. The battle was over. Not victory, not defeat, but survival bought at staggering cost. Amid the settling dust, Tian appeared beside Huo Yuhao's ravaged body. The Emperor Beast's voice rolled out, low and iron. "You dared earn an enemy like that. Had I not been forced to threaten a true descent, she would not have left." Across from him, Huo Yuhao's eyes were calm, too calm. He knew Tian had spoiled his plans before. In his mind, today's help felt like a debt long owed. More than that, thwarting the Sun Moon Empire's unification of the continent served the Soul Beast's survival. Their interests were temporarily aligned. A long silence followed. Then Tian sighed. Diep Tich Thuy was right. I cannot descend in truth. When she calms down, she will realize today was a bluff. If she had remained within the Death God Tower and fought from there, even my real body would not guarantee a win. His gaze lowered to Huo Yuhao. You borrowed too much of my strength. Your vessel is failing, cracking everywhere. Do not face her again. Cherish your life. His figure dispersed like smoke. The protecting darkness around Huo Yuhao receded. The moment it vanished, the boy's body surrendered, and he fainted. Help arrived like rain in a drought. The Shrek contingent and Star Luo's titled Douluo hurried over the broken ground, faces set with alarm. Shu Sanqi knelt and went pale. Little Junior's meridians. So many are severed. He could die at any moment. Beside him, Donghua Dong stood frozen, eyes blank, replaying the motion of Huo Yuhao switching places with her stepping into the path of the Death God Tower's beam. The memory scalded her from the inside. Then, unexpectedly, the White Tiger Duke himself arrived at the head of a relief column. The Duke's presence stilled the panic. Around him surged a specialized team of 16 healers, led by a super Douluo of the healing branch. There was no delay, no ceremony. The healing immortal Douluo, Vuong Tianni, raised a hand, and a soft wash of pale green light unfolded like a dome, enclosing Huo Yuhao in a cradle of life energy. What happened next astonished her. As her healing power entered Huo Yuhao, a current of life force reversed course, flowing from him into her, a tide of vitality, so pure it was almost painful to receive. It took her a breath to understand. The boy's body was saturated, brimful with life force, to the point that any nudge would set it moving. In trying to heal him, she had accidentally awakened the ocean within him. Vuong Tianni didn't waste that clarity. She sealed the extra stream, locking it where it wouldn't leak or dissipate. At nearly 200 years old, with maybe a decade left by mortal counting, she recognized the gift. Perhaps the last gift fate might offer her a chance to break through and earn decades more life. In war, resourcefulness is as sacred as compassion. Her decision was quick, clinical, yet not without gratitude toward the one whose life had brushed hers with renewal. Then she examined him again and frowned. The meridians were severed, yes, but everywhere the life force threaded, tiny bridges formed, stitching the breaks, knitting what had been sliced. The act of mending was happening from the inside out, automatic and unstoppable, as if the boy's very soul had decided, not yet. She signaled good news to Shrek's students and Star Luo's officers, then lifted Huo Yuhao in a gentle current of green and carried him into a prepared tent. He would live, but he needed watching. Night grew deep and cold. Shu Sanqi organized a schedule rotations to keep Huo Yuhao under constant care until daybreak. Somehow, Diep Tich Thuy became the first to watch him through the long midnight hours. When Donghua Dong learned that, her expression tightened in something complicated and hard to hide. She glanced at Diep Tich Thuy, said nothing, and slipped out into the night. Shu Sanqi watched her leave and couldn't help the little smile that found his lips. The campfire popped, and the shadow of the tent trembled. Inside, Diep Tich Thuy sat beside the cot and studied Huo Yuhao's face in the wavering lamplight. The war outside had stolen enough words from her. Now, Alone, they returned in a whisper. "I know in your heart there has never been room for me," she murmured, "but when I have the chance to look after you, just us, I feel happy." The admission tasted like warmth and melancholy together. She stood, fetched a basin of water, and wrung out a towel. With careful, methodical motions, she wiped the dried blood from his cheekbones, his brow, the stubborn line of his jaw. The touch lingered in the air, even when her hand hovered, suspended, then slowly curled into a fist that didn't quite descend. Some distances feel small until you try to cross them. What she did not know, what perhaps no one was meant to know, was that just beyond the canvas wall, Donghua Dong had come back. Drawn by a thread she couldn't name, she had paused outside the tent, and before she could decide otherwise, had lifted the flap just enough to see. She saw the basin, the towel, the tenderness Diep Tich Thuy allowed herself in that secret space of night. When Diep Tich Thuy raised her hand, Donghua Dong's heart kicked hard. She almost burst inside to stop it, to say something she hadn't yet found the words for. But when the hovering hand finally retreated, when restraint blossomed where impulse had shot up, Donghua Dong exhaled the breath she didn't know she was holding. She walked away, asking herself why jealousy could feel so heavy and so light at the same time. Outside, the camp came through its own long dark. The White Tiger Duke kept the perimeter steady. Scouts rotated in silence. Healers dozed with their tools at the ready. The night smelled of ash and pine and iron. Above them, the stars were quiet. And in that quiet, the world digested what had almost happened. The Sun-Moon Empire had tested the mountain with engines of terrible design. The Death God Tower had shown why its name was spoken only with caution. But courage had risen to meet it. Tian's intervention, bluff or not, had bent the flow of battle at the last critical moment. There are victories counted in banners, and there are victories counted in breaths. Tonight's victory fit the second ledger. Huo Yuhao's chest rose and fell. Near dawn, the spooling machinery of life force continued knitting. The torn meridians found each other across chasms, the stitches set, thin and resilient. The healing immortal Douluo returned to check on him and nodded in quiet satisfaction. She could not transfer her years to him, nor take his mending for granted, but she could make sure no external harm disturbed the miracle his body was performing. She left a small charm of green light hovering like a firefly and stepped back out into the gray before sunrise. By then, news had traveled across the armies. The Death God Tower had fled. The Sun-Moon formations had self-detonated and retreated. Star Luo suffered casualties but held its ground. The cost was terrible, but the line did not break. For a day, the map stayed as it had been, a fact that meant more to morale than any speech could accomplish. War often turns on nights like this, when one soul refuses to stop breathing. Around mid-morning, a hush fell as Huo Yuhao stirred just a fractional flutter of his eyelids and a change in the rhythm of his breathing. He didn't wake, but the motion ran through the tent like a bell no one had struck. Diep Tich Thuy, still there, sat straighter. "You'll make it," she whispered. "You always do." The towel had dried by then. She re-wetted it, wrung it out, and finished what the night had asked of her. Elsewhere, Donghua Dong practiced stillness that didn't feel like surrender. She looked over the ruined mountain's silhouette and found, to her surprise, no anger left in her, only the echo of a choice Huo Yuhao had made, to stand in for her under the death god's light. Gratitude can be as fierce as jealousy, she realized. It simply burns in a different part of the chest. Behind the lines, tacticians pulled tokens across a table that was part wood, part map, part prayer. "She'll come back," one muttered, meaning Diep Tich Thuy. "Next time she won't be baited." Another replied, "Then next time we'll be ready." Today we learned something about her limits and ours. In war, knowledge is a weapon that doesn't run out of ammunition. As for Tian, his name rippled across whispers like a ripple across black water. Had he truly stepped across the boundary between realms? Or had he walked the edge of a rumor so perfectly that even an ultimate Douluo stepped back? The answers hardly mattered in the short term. It was enough that the Death God Tower had turned away. It was enough that morning existed at all. Before noon, the White Tiger Duke visited the medical tents. He wasn't a man for ornament in speech. He looked at Huo Yuhao, looked at the exhausted healers, and said only, "Good." To some, the word might have sounded too small for the moment. But those who knew the Duke knew he counted his words like coins and spent them where they mattered. Good, from him, meant the treasury of a city. The healing immortal Douluo took a moment after he left and sat where the lamplight didn't glare. She touched the sealed pocket of life energy, within herself the portion that had flowed from Huo Yuhao by accident and choice, by proximity and providence. Not yet, she told it silently. Not yet. There would be a time for her to seek that next step, to wrestle with mortality and earn more years. But now, the boy who had inadvertently offered her that chance needed every ounce of quiet the camp could grant. Toward evening, Diep Tich Thuy's watch ended. She stood, stretched the stiffness out of her spine, and looked down one last time. "Rest," she said simply. It wasn't a confession or a farewell, just a word balanced between them, like a bridge no one had yet crossed. When she stepped out, Duong Wudong happened to be walking by. For a breath, the two women faced each other, the day's light catching in their eyes. No words passed, only the understanding of people who had seen each other at their most unguarded. Then the moment slid away, gentle as dusk. By the second night, the camp felt different. Less brittle, more intentional. Fires burned lower, guards rotated with measured steps. The mountain, what remained of it, stopped groaning. The stars returned to their places, and the moon rose with indifferent grace. Inside the tent, Huo Yuhao slept deeper, not as one on the edge of a precipice, but as one on a path that led out of the woods. The mending of meridians slowed from urgent knitting to patient weaving. Somewhere in a dream he would not remember. A dragon's shadow curved around him, not menacing, not possessive, simply watchful. And somewhere, very far away, in a place where the boundary between soul beast and world thins into a veil, a being who had bluffed and won allowed himself a rare, almost human exhale. The next day would bring strategy and new orders and messages inked in haste. It would bring the inventory of losses, the tally of supplies, the cold arithmetic after any battle. It might even bring rumors from the sun-moon front of a tower repaired, of an army regrouping, of a war that would not end because one mountain had been flattened. But for now, this episode, this chapter, closed on the image of a quiet tent and the sound of breathing. Because sometimes the most decisive victories are not loud, they are a single life continuing. And that was episode 125 of the Unrivaled Tang Sect. A night of retreat and resolve, a battle gambled on a dragon's shadow, a healer's measured choice, and a boy who did not stop breathing. If you enjoyed this deep retelling, show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to 3D Cartoon Review.